Hey folks, I just wanted to do a quick video. I'm starting to get questions from people. Now, people have been asking me questions at my gym uh, for a while now. And, besides for our coaches, there's one brown belt and probably about five purple belts. So the purple belts are really looked upon highly from the whites and blues. There's definite respect there. And they always seem to find it easier to come to us for advice than going straight to the coaches. And one thing I usually get from the 35 plus crowd is advice starting BJJ and sticking with it. So um, I put together like 10 items, and it's not they're not in order. It's just 10 things that I came up with. And I'll get to those in a second. But I wanted to bring home a point. This picture I have up here is from, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago. And I wanted to point something out. Hold on one second. That's me, of course. I think I'm probably 37, 38 here. The guy to my left is Donovan. He's, at the time, I don't even think he was 30. Alexis was 35. Oop, here's Shane, who's on our podcast. He's older than me. There's Wayne, of course. He's a year or two older than me. And there's James, but he's in his 20s. But anyways, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because some of the toughest SOBs that I share the mat with are 35 plus. But the majority of us had a very had a more difficult time getting acclimated to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu than some of our younger counterparts. But uh, without further delay, let's get through these items. First, depending on your level of athleticism, your first couple of months to a year is going to be very hard. And due to that, you have to embrace the suck. Now, when you see folks in their 20s or even their early 30s start, you'll notice that they're going to have a bit of an easier time than you will. That's just the nature of things. That's just how it's going to be. For you, it's going to suck. And as you get older, a lot of times what I've noticed is people, especially in the Northern Virginia area, don't exactly keep up with their physical fitness. I know I didn't. When I had started, I had ballooned up to about 245 pounds. I was heavily asthmatic, and as I found out, it was mostly due to the additional weight, on top of me having asthma. But it was made far worse from the additional weight, and I could not do cardio to save my life. The first 8 to 12 months of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for me were probably the toughest physical thing I ever did. There was a lot of literal blood, sweat, and tears left on that mat at Pentagon MMA specifically during that time frame. But yeah, if you're 35 plus, if you want to do it, it's going to be hard. But once you get past that hump, you know, the benefits are amazing. The feeling of accomplishment is very, very good. The second thing is during warm ups and drilling, take breaks. Take as many as you can and continue when you're able. Don't try to keep up with the super athletic 20-year-olds that have been doing this for a while. I've seen a couple guys who started who've about my age, not the best shape. They see like these 20-ish something odd year olds who are extremely athletic and they try to keep up with them. And that's a mistake. These guys are, who knows what their backgrounds are. They probably run marathons. They're probably powerlifters, gymnasts still. And being older, trying to keep up with them is probably not the best idea. Now, granted, there are some older guys and gals who can, but on average, not too many. So yeah, just don't try to keep up with the 20-year-olds. Not at first. Point number 3, if you have asthma, use your flaming inhaler. Not literally a flaming an inhaler that's on fire. I'm juxtaposing curse word for flaming. Rather, I'm substituting a curse word for flaming. No one is going to judge you for it. And the folks that do really honestly aren't worth your time. One of the mistakes I made at first was I was trying to be stubborn and not use my inhaler. I didn't want to attribute my difficulty breathing to me being super out of shape. Or rather, I didn't want to attribute it to me having asthma. In my head, I had myself convinced that I was just super out of shape. Now, had I gone to a doctor earlier, he would have said, I would have known that it was asthma and I needed to use my inhaler. But, stubbornness kind of peaks up in people, and that's one of the key lessons that I learned. So yes, if you have asthma, use your inhaler. There's no shame in it. Number 4, don't feel obligated to purchase super expensive gis for your first uniform, unless you're at a gym that requires you to wear their gi. Then your choices are somewhat limited. But starting out, don't waste $250-$300 on a single gi. What if you find out that you don't like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? What if you find out that you prefer no gi? Then you've wasted a lot of money. Get an El Cheapo, Amazon special, $50-$60 at minimum. See if you like it, and then buy a nicer one later on. That way you don't, that way it doesn't burn your pocket initially, just in case something happens. Number 5, tap early, tap often. There is no shame in it, none at all. And it saves your joints. You're welcome. Number 6, the goal is to get in shape and skill acquisition. It is not necessarily winning every round. It is just practice. I see a lot of guys, young and old, and mostly the older guys suffer the most from this. They will go extremely hard, use a lot of muscle, and burn themselves out, like in the first or second round of rolling. Generally, there's at least 4 or 5. But when you do that, your ability to perform and execute these techniques live is limited because you're too tired, or you get too tired. So it actually saps your ability to practice. Tone it back a little bit, and then continue. Tone it back a little bit so you can continue through all the rounds of that night. You might learn one thing. You might improve on a fraction of one thing, but that's still progress, and it's still skill acquisition. And on top of that, in my opinion, it actually helps you build up your stamina and your cardio so that you can get in shape faster. Getting it all out, getting all of your energy out in the first and second round, it didn't really work out for me. So I found I had more results and better results when I switched, when I calmed down quite a bit. But yes, getting in shape, skill acquisition, that's what your target should be. Number 7 is actually, from day 1, work on your flexibility. Being flexible, the more flexible you are, the better off you will be when you try some of these techniques in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Also, stretching keeps you limber. The aches and pains in your muscles that you get from training can be mitigated, avoided, or even, I guess a better term would be treated through stretching. I can't tell you how many times I've seen guys who've pulled something because they came in late, didn't stretch, and then, tried to go balls out when it was time to drill, so to speak. All right, but yeah, flexibility, go do it. Even if you have to take an extra yoga class once a week, just get into that. Number 8, choose your training partners wisely. There's, honestly, and I will tell you this, there's no shame in declining to partner with or roll with some super spazzy, super athletic 19 or 20-year-old that has no experience with grappling. Because sometimes those can be the roughest folks that you can partner with. And when you're trying to learn this, that's also a bad day. Not necessarily the case in every scenario. But it seems to me that that is, when it comes down to it, the worst position to be in. It's like the blind leading the blind, who's, a physical marvel. Um, but yeah, and the upside to that is, though, as you gain experience, those same super athletic 19-year-olds will begin to look very enticing when it comes to, getting a workout when you're rolling. Like I mean, I'll admit it. There's a couple hyper athletic guys that if I just want to have a good workout, I partner with them and roll with them. Are they the most technical? No. Are they the safest? Questionable. But yeah, at white belt would not do it. I'd probably get hurt. Um, but yeah, there's no shame in declining to roll with or partner with someone. Um, Number 9, there is no shortcut for hard work. Balance out your recovery time with your training days. Make sure you're eating, drinking water, and just pace yourself. You listen to your body. And that sounds cheesy, but after a while, I started noticing my body was aching after consecutive days training, and I realized that after 3 days, my body will start to ache on my limbs, like arms, legs, back, sometimes like closer to my spine, would just start to ache, and I have to literally like rest for a day for it to go away. And then I just out of curiosity, I just played around with my training days, and the magic number was 3. After 3 days in a row, those aches started. But yeah, but just balancing out your rest time, your training days, your diet, like that is very key, and that's tough. It's very tough to get into a routine and maintain, but once you do it, you'll be golden with your training. And the last, but not least, is make sure you also put in some additional cardio or strength training. This will help mitigate the age difference between you and the younger folks, and it'll help close the age gap, so to speak, when in terms of performance. Now, because of my asthma and because my knees are, not the best, I go a little bit closer with the strength training and flexibility options over additional cardio, and that for me has worked out pretty well. But anyways, yeah. So, just long story short, of these are just 10 general things. Again, not in any order, that anyone starting BJJ at 35 plus, I feel these are things that they should know and things that they should consider. Now, the last one is, and I always drill this home. Uh, your biggest and best commodity on the mats are your training partners. So pick and choose ones that will help take care of you while you're on the mat and make sure you don't get injured. And make sure you treat them well and make sure that they don't get injured and have to spend time away from training. That way, your training progresses, your training continues, and you have good people that you can train with. Now, that was probably long winded, but yeah. I actually like this. If people ask me questions, I'll see if I can answer it. And like a little bit of a shorter form video. Anyways, yep. I will talk to you guys later. Hit me with some more questions and I'll see if I can answer them. Thank you. Good night.